These days the prophet's palace was particularly bustling, especially since yesterday. These days the prophet's palace was particularly bustling, especially since yesterday. The demon prophet changed his habit and no longer rejected people's visits. He even began to receive visitors one right after the other. Many big demon beasts, and even human cultivators, came to the prophet's palace in the past 2 days requesting to see the prophet. Many people speculated whether the prophet's unusual behavior this time was related to the future changes of the heavenly mandate realm and the big figure in his mouth. The prophet's palace was located to the west of the demon metropolis. It covered an extremely vast and open area, exuding an immortal atmosphere. At this time, many people were standing in an open field. In front of them were stairs of some 1,000 meters, and above the stairs was a single palace, which was not magnificent but showed a sense of transfixion. Above the stairs and outside the palace, there was a statue next to the palace gate, a statue of a demon beast. This demon beast combined many characteristics of different big demon beasts, with a tiger head, a single horn, 2 dog ears, a dragon body, a lion tail, and unicorn's feet. Even though it was only a statue, its eyes still looked animated. This was the form of a prophet demon beast. But nowadays in the demon realm, there was only one prophet in this prophet's palace. By the time Futian came, there were already many demon beasts and humans waiting quietly outside. Futian even saw some familiar figures, warriors from the world of human cultivators. For example, the goddess of Brahma's pure sky was there. When Futian arrived, many people took a look at him. The goddess of Brahma's pure sky also noticed him, but she was unsurprised and soon turned her eyes away. However, she was slightly curious. What did Futian come to ask? His future. People who come to visit the prophet's palace wanted to ask about their future in cultivation, some wanted to ask the fate of their families, and some people asked about what to do next. In short, there were all kinds of questions. Some human women even asked about the great law of marriage, but of course, it rarely happened, Zhu Zhao said to Futian. There was some sort of strange look in Xia Qingyuan's eyes after his words. Futian raised a brow and said, "Can the prophet measure a person's life and death?" "I don't know, but you know some people who are here today. Maybe they want to ask about someone's life and death," Zhu Zhao said. Futian understood what he meant. Many people of the heavenly mandate realm must want to know whether Gu Tianxing was alive or dead. At this moment, a figure walked out, standing on the edge of the stairs. He was a young doorman, but his cultivation was also on the St. Plain level. He looked down at a big demon beast and said, "Come in." The big demon beast nodded and then walked up the stairs until he entered the prophet's palace. How did the prophet feel so good today? What did he see that made him summon so many people continuously? Zhu Zhao murmured, a little confused. At this moment, the young doorman looked at Zhu Yan and Futian and asked, "Who among you wants to see the prophet? What is it for?" "We all want to see the prophet and have many things to ask, but it depends on whether the prophet is willing to call. If the prophet is willing to call 1 or 2 of us, we will ask a question according to the rules," Zhu Zhao said. "All right," the young doorman nodded, showing he had understood. They waited patiently. At this moment, someone looked at Futian and asked, "Mr. Yi, do you also come here to ask about your future cultivation path?" Futian looked toward the speaker. He was a personable young person. He didn't have a lot of companions with him, but every one of them appeared to have a good temperament. The speaker said with a smile, "My name is Jiang Mo, from the celestial gate of vast heaven. Mr. Ye's talent is extraordinary. You will enter the Renhuang Plain in the future." The Jiang clan was one of the 3 large clans in the celestial gate of vast heaven. Futian looked at him. He also knew that the celestial gate of vast heaven had 3 big clans, but he was not clear about what happened that year and what the relationship between Jiang clan and the Gu clan was. "How about you?" Futian asked. "I am here to inquire about the future of the celestial gate of vast heaven," Jiang Mo said. Futian nodded slightly. Now nobody knew whether Gu Tianxing was alive or dead. The 3rd brother appeared and was brought to the mountain range of origin in the demon realm. Now for celestial gate of vast heaven, they had to make decisions, since the storm might affect the future of the celestial gate of vast heaven. Whether Gu Tianxing is alive or dead, the celestial gate of vast heaven had better distinguish itself from the Gu clan, someone said in a proud voice. The speaker was a cultivator of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. The Heavenly Mandate dynasty and Gu Tianxing were deadly enemies. If the celestial gate of vast heaven wanted to stand with Gu Tianxing, then they could only be enemies. Warriors from the Heavenly Mandate dynasty come to ask the prophet whether Gu Tianxing was dead or alive. Elders of the celestial gate will decide by themselves, so I don't need to think too much about it. It is also not your turn to judge the things between the Heavenly Mandate dynasty and the celestial gate of vast heavens, Jiang Imo responded calmly. They were also a top force in the Heavenly Mandate realm. Naturally, he had no love for the people of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. Not to mention that their relationship had never been very good. The warrior of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty snorted coldly and said nothing. After a while, that demon beast stepped out of the prophet's palace, with his head lowered, looking quite discouraged. At this time, the young doorman's eyes fell on the goddess of the Brahma's pure sky and said, "Please come in." The leading goddess of the Brahma's pure sky had a gorgeous face and stunning bearing. She was very famous even in the Heavenly Mandate realm. She was Genie Saintess below the thrones of the 9 divine goddess. With outstanding beauty and talent, she served as the leader of her saint clan. "What will Genie Goddess ask today?" someone of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty asked. "Maybe about the path of divine marriage?" Genie Saintess turned her head and glanced at him but did not reply. Then she went straight up the stairs and entered the prophet's palace. She walked all the way forward. In the palace, an unembellished courtyard, a white furry demon beast was sitting there. It was the prophet Great Demon Beast. He did not take the human body but rather maintained the original beast form. His eyes reflected red light, and he looked at the Genie Saintess. With just one glance, the Genie Saintess felt as if she had been seen through. Her heart of law even grew a sense of unease. "You have an inexorable catastrophe waiting for you," the prophet said in a hazy voice. The genie goddess stared at him with a pair of gorgeous eyes. "What kind of catastrophe?" "Catastrophe about love," the prophet said. Genie Saintess didn't believe him. She looked indifferent and said, "I heard that you as a prophet can predict the future, but now it seems you just have an undeserved reputation. I am never interested in the relationship between man and woman, and I am not here to ask about it. You will be one of the 9 goddesses, but the future of Brahma's pure sky will not be about you. The fate of Brahma's pure sky will be tied to one person." The hazy voice of the prophet came again, but it could only be heard in this space and was isolated from the outside world. Genie Saintess's beautiful eyes stared at him. He knew what she was about to ask. She had a very low opinion of relationships between men and women and was a devoted cultivator. As one of the saints under the 9th goddesses, her biggest wish was to be one of the 9 goddesses. She was here to try her luck. It was said that the demon prophet could hear everything in the 3,000 realms and predict the future, knowing everything, so she wanted to have a look. "You can go now," the prophet said calmly. The Genie Saintess seemed to perceive a mysterious and unpredictable power, so she turned around and left here. She would become one of the 9 goddesses, but the fate of Brahma's pure sky was not about her, it was about another person. Who would that be? She came down the stairs and left the prophet's palace. She, who had never been convinced by the rumors of the prophet, at this moment was lost in thought. She didn't come out of trance until she stepped out of the prophet's palace. She looked downward, her gaze falling on the crowd. She walked down the stairs. "What did you ask, Genie Saintess?" People from the Heavenly Mandate dynasty asked again. "It has nothing to do with you," Saint Genie said coldly. After returning to Brahma's Pure Skies group, she did not immediately leave. Later, the young doorman stepped out and looked at Jiang Imo of Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, saying, "Please." "Why does the prophet keep calling upon human beings?" asked the demon grumpily. The boy glanced at him and said, "You can just go. The prophet won't see you." "You," the big demon beast grumbled, looking unfriendly. At this moment, there was a supreme pressure coming from the prophet's palace, which fell on his body and made him unable to move. Sweat flew from his body. "I apologize for my offense. Please forgive me," he said in a trembling voice. The prophet in the demon realm is well known for his knowledge of the past and future, but people seem to have forgotten the prophet's cultivation was also extremely powerful. Just like Genie Saintus, Jiang Emo also went to see the prophet. He bowed down and saluted. Jiang Emo of the celestial gate of vast heaven is here to meet sir. It might sound funny that a human visited a demon beast and called him sir, but in the moment, it all seemed very normal. The prophet looked at him, and Jiang Emo suddenly had the same feeling as Genie that just with only one glance, he had become completely transparent. Gu Tianxing will die, said the prophet. Jiang Emo trembled slightly. This sentence seems to have two meanings. Gu Tianxing was still alive, but he was by no means Gu Tianxing of his heyday. Maybe only the residual soul existed, and he would die. For the future of the celestial gate of vast heaven, the new master must be assisted with all your efforts, otherwise, the celestial gate will decay, the prophet continued. Jiang Mo's heart trembled. He looked up at the prophet and asked, "Who is the new master?" The celestial gate of vast heaven was jointly governed by 3 major clans at that time. After the Gu clan died out, only 2 clans were sharing the power, and they jointly controlled the celestial gate of vast heaven. Even in Gu Tianxing's days, he was the representative of the celestial gate of vast heaven, but he was not the sole ruler of the celestial gate of vast heaven. You can go now. The prophet did not answer his question but indicated he should leave. Jiang Mo's expression froze. He wanted to ask something more, but in front of the majesty of the prophet he finally didn't say anything, turned around and walked away, but what the prophet said to him kept echoing in his mind. Would there be an absolute ruler in the celestial gate of vast heaven? Otherwise, the celestial gate would decay. Gu Tianxing, he would die. What would happen in the future? When Jiang Emo stepped out of the prophet's palace, a lot of people stared at him, especially those of the heavenly mandate dynasty. When Jiang Emo stepped out of the prophet's palace, a lot of people stared at him, especially those of the heavenly mandate dynasty. Since he belonged to the celestial gate of vast heaven, he had asked about Gu Tianxing. Jiang Emo, is Gu Tianxing alive or dead? A royal warrior of the heavenly mandate dynasty asked. Jiang Emo glanced at him but didn't reply. He was in no mood to talk. The imperial warrior of the heavenly mandate dynasty stepped forward and said, "Don't forget that Gu Tianxing's life and death are related to the future of the heavenly mandate realm." Jiang Emo looked up at him indifferently and asked, "Why don't you go ask for yourself?" He understood that the warrior was hoping to learn of Gu Tianxing's fate, so if he was summoned by the prophet, he could ask another question. That way, he wouldn't waste his opportunity. After all, he was unsure if the prophet would answer all his questions. The prophet was unexpectedly summoning so many people, and they all wanted to meet this legendary great demon beast. They wouldn't get a second chance to see the prophet, and they didn't want to mess this chance up. Naturally, they wanted to ask more. For example, the imperial warrior wanted to ask about his future and the future of the heavenly mandate dynasty. Jiang Emo was not going to tell him. At this time, Jiang Emo was absorbed in thought, still thinking about what the prophet said. "It's your turn." At this moment, the young doorman on the stairs said to the prince of the heavenly mandate dynasty. He took an emotionless look at Jiang Emo, then walked up the stairs and entered the prophet's palace. This made demon beasts around them whisper. Many of the demon beasts coming today were unusual great demon beasts. However, the prophet kept calling on human spiritual cultivators. If the human cultivator Gu Tianxing had entered the mountain range of origin of the demon realm, would the change of the demon realm start with humans? Was that why the prophet wanted to see these humans? "He's already in, can you tell me?" Genie Saintus asked Jiang Emo. Jiang Emo glanced at her and said, "What did Genie Saintus ask, and how did the prophet reply?" Genie narrowed her eyes, looking at him, and then said nothing. Jiang Emo nodded slightly and walked past her. It didn't take long for the warrior of the heavenly mandate dynasty to walk out, but the expression on his face didn't look that well. Apparently, he didn't get the answer he wanted either. He glanced at the people below him. He was curious, what questions did the goddess of Brahma's pure sky and Jiang Emo of the celestial gate of vast heaven ask? What answers did they receive? At this time, the young doorman continued to invite people to enter the prophet's palace. and gradually some demon beasts were summoned. Goddesses, will you keep waiting? People of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty asked Genie Saintis. We will wait for a while. Genie Saintis said. She wanted to see if Yi Futian would be called by the prophet. Before, this man challenged the Violet Heavenly Palace. If the prophet summoned him, what would he ask? Would it be his future, and what answer would the prophet give him? After a long while, many big demon beasts had come in and out of the prophet's palace, and most of them came out with disappointment. They didn't get the answers they had wanted or expected. Most talented warriors, whether humans or demons, naturally had very high requirements and expectations of themselves. In other words, they had high self-esteem. They also had many resources, but the answers given by the prophet might not be in their expectations. At this moment, the young doorman on the stairs fixed his eyes on Yi Futian and his friends, mainly looking at Zhu Zhao. He said, Zhu Yen Demon Crown Prince and your party, is the Crown Prince the one who will enter? Zhu Zhao didn't announce his identity, but he still recognized him as the Crown Prince of the Zhu Yen clan. Not only Zhu Zhao, previously those warriors of the top human powers had not reported either and were also recognized. From this, one could tell the ability of the prophet was indeed outstanding. Many demon beasts looked toward the Zhu Yen Demon Crown Prince. So he was the son of Zhu Yen Demon Emperor. It was rumored that this guy was extremely talented and even stronger than the Zhu Yen Demon Emperor of his time. They wanted to see how he would be like after coming out. Only one person? Zhu Zhao asked. Yes, the young doorman replied, nodding. Zhu Zhao contemplated for a second. He naturally wanted to enter the prophet's palace, but he also wanted Yi Futian to go in and have a look. He was curious about what questions Yi Futian would ask the prophet and what answers he would get. You go, Yi Futian said to Zhu Zhao. He didn't believe so much in the prophet's so-called prophecy. Although astrologists had certain abilities, they also had limitations and could not understand everything. The same was true of the prophet. Moreover, he was afraid that the prophet would not be able to answer his question. The people next to him all thought he would ask about his future, but he did not have such a thought at all. His future lay in himself. From the moment he saw Emperor Yi Qing, he seemed destined to have only two paths. Although I want to see the prophet, I don't have many questions to ask. You go in and ask whatever you want. The prophet knows more than you think, Zhu Zhao said. He could tell Yi Futian was not very interested. He understood. Yi Futian must be skeptical about this legendary figure of Demon Clan and was so convinced. However, people of the Demon Clan were all clear about the prophet's position in the demon realm. He was the only remaining prophet in the prophet's palace. Even if a demon emperor wanted to see him, it was not a very easy thing, including those top demon emperors. This time, they also had no idea why the prophet was doing this. Zhu Zhao, how could you give up the chance for a human? A demon warrior looked at Zhu Yen Demon Crown Prince and asked. Does it have anything to do with you? Zhu Zhao took a glance at him and asked. That warrior smiled, showing his fangs. The Taotai big demon beast next to him was also unsatisfied with Zhu Zhao's response. Boss, don't you want the prophet to see your future? Even if you don't want to go, the second brother and the fourth sister want to have a try. Zhu Zhao glanced at them and said, You are following me, what do you want to know about the future? The fierce Taotai demon beast was feeling hurt and didn't know how to reply. Aren't you worried about her? Go, Xia Qingyuan besides said to Yi Futian. Yi Futian knew what she meant. However, he did not believe that the prophet of the demon realm could know about Jieyu's life or death because that would be too horrible, and how could a mortal be so aware of the past and future? Okay, Yi Futian nodded. Since Zhu Zhao had declined and Xia Qingyuan also said the same, he would go to visit this legendary prophet of the demon realm. He would just have a try, and if the prophet did not know, he could also ask about the third brother. He should be clearer about the third brother. Thinking of this, Yi Futian stepped out. Warriors of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty showed interest. Was Yi Futian going? Yi Futian was also curious about what conversation the prophet would have with him. Jiang Mo of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven and Goddesses of the Brahma's Pure Sky also watched Yi Futian walking up the stairs. Although these people of top powers still did not believe Yi Futian was very important and believed his future was dim since he offended the Violet Heavenly Palace, they did recognize Yi Futian's strength and were all curious about him. Yi Futian stepped into the prophet's palace. Like others before him, he came to a quiet courtyard. The atmosphere here was very peaceful, and a whole white demon beast was waiting for him. Yi Futian is here to salute you, sir. Yi Futian bowed slightly. The prophet looked at Yi Futian, his eyes suddenly glowing with blood-red light that pierced Yi Futian's eyes. At this moment, Yi Futian felt like a thought invaded in his mind, and his expression changed slightly. The thought was invisible and intangible. Although he was aware of it, he could not stop it at all. Boom! Yi Futian's head was shaken violently. The prophet's red eyes kept staring at him, and his body was trembling slightly. He seemed to see a scene, yet he saw nothing. His eyes were bleeding crimson blood, but he still couldn't look away. He could only stare at Yi Futian. Sir, what are you doing? Yi Futian stared indifferently at him and asked. The prophet closed his eyes, blood exuding from them, and he said, You can go. Yi Futian stared at him, with a sense of vigilance. He turned around and walked away, feeling a little cold in his heart. The prophet seemed to want to pry about something. After Yi Futian left, the prophet's eyes were still bleeding, and he quietly lay on the ground. There was a human figure coming out of the body of the demon beast. That was a white-haired old man, like a celestial being. It was his soul. At this moment, there seemed to be a pure white flame burning his soul. His soul turned into a human form. His eyes opened and looked up at the sky. If you want to catch a glimpse of the secret of the great law, then there should be such a catastrophe. The heavenly secret shall not be revealed. A hazy voice came, but only he could hear it. The clan of prophets was destined not to exist in the world. After today, the world would no longer have prophets. Yi Futian walked out of the prophet's palace. Everyone felt strange when seeing him coming out. So fast? Although others came out quickly, too, Yi Futian was the fastest one. Yi Futian's expression seemed a little cold and angry. Warriors of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty saw this and snickered. They were glad he had not received the answer he wanted. Prophet! At this moment, a scream came out. It was the voice of the young doorman. Many people were stunned for a moment, looked in the direction of the prophet's palace, and saw the might shrouding over the sky. Above the sky dome, a giant hazy figure showed up. It was an old man with a white beard as well as a big demon beast of the prophet. The two of them appeared as one. At this moment, a flame was burning above his body, and the horrifying might descended from the sky, falling on his body. The prophet. Humans and demon beasts present were all trembling inside. What happened? I leaked too many heavenly secrets, especially this time, and was punished by heaven. Today is the day I should depart this life, and there is no prophet in the demon realm. A hazy voice rang out across the vast space, and everyone's hearts were thumping hard. Even Yi Futian suddenly turned around and looked at the figure above the sky, his heart beating fast. Pausa. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The prophet departed this life today. The prophet departed this life today. Why? Yi Futian's heart trembled. Even though he didn't believe that the prophet could predict the past and future, the prophet was still an extremely powerful cultivator. After all, even a figure like Zhu Yan Demon Crown Prince was willing to come to visit him and fully trusted him, which meant that the prophet had extraordinary abilities. It was not just the Zhu Yan Demon Crown Prince. Many descendants of top great demon beasts were also here. Before, the prophet seemed to want to pry something from him. Yi Futian was apathetic, feeling a little bit strange and even angry. However, Yi Futian had never expected that the moment he stepped out of the prophet's palace, this legendary figure of the demon realm, the great demon beast prophet everyone came to visit, would lay down his life because he had leaked too many heavenly secrets. Was it because of Yi Futian? Did the prophet see anything? Did the prophet die because he revealed too many heavenly secrets? Or was it because he did not want to reveal heavenly secrets anymore? Suddenly, Yi Futian felt that he was mistaken. Perhaps the prophet could predict the future as the rumors said. He must have seen something and he didn't want to leak the heavenly secret, so he departed this life. But if the prophet didn't want to, then who was he? Who was the big figure in the mouth of the prophet? At this time, Yi Futian's brain was scrambled and a bit chaotic. This feeling was weird. Not long ago he was still a little angry, but at this moment he had an inexplicable feeling. Not only Yi Futian, but warriors of the demon realm around him were also all shocked to see what was happening in front of them, stunned by this scene. The prophet passed away. He was the last prophet of the prophet clan, but today he said he leaked too many heavenly secrets and died. If the reason for his death was all the secrets he revealed, then why had he summoned all these people to leak the heavenly secrets? Was it because of the message he sent before? There would be a big change in the demon realm, and the same would happen in the heavenly mandate realm. A big figure would come. The prophet summoned people, revealed the heavenly secrets, but was he also spying on the heavenly secret at the same time? The wind and clouds in the sky began to change color, and the suffocating might dropped down from the sky. The life force was appalling. Many great demon beasts in the boundless surrounding area almost fell to the ground under the pressure. Demon beasts were more sensitive to their superior's aura. This meant demon emperors were coming, more than one person. From the sky, there was continual might dropping down, countless thoughts sweeping past, and there even were big demon beasts coming directly across the void. Some big demon beasts condensed phantoms with great demonic powers and appeared in the sky above the prophet's palace. They all looked at the figure of the departing prophet in shock, hearts trembling. "Prophet, why did you do so?" asked a demon emperor. They didn't understand. The prophet's status in the demon realm was transcendent, and even when they requested to visit him, the prophet usually declined. In the demon realm, even the great demon beasts at the pinnacle would not lay a hand on this last prophet of the prophet clan, and this was also a consensus in the demon world. Moreover, when things happened, they would always come to ask the prophet's opinions. During the war between humans and demon beasts, the prophets also played a very important role. Even the top powerful figures in the demon realm were unwilling to lay hands on the prophet. He always had the freedom to do whatever he wanted, but why had the only remaining prophet chosen to depart his life? Was it because he foresaw something? Why did this happen? A condensed phantom of the demon emperor showed up and sighed. "Didn't you know your status in the demon realm? This is my inexorable catastrophe. You don't have to feel sad for me," the prophet said. "Everything has its time. You don't have to investigate why I chose to depart this life. There is no reason. And you don't have to deliberately change anything, just let it be. The demon realm will have a disturbance, but as long as everyone follows the trend, the demon realm will still be the demon realm between the sky and earth." Demon emperors listened quietly and kept the words of the prophet in mind. The prophet's last words were all from the bottom of his heart, and they should remember them forever. "What suggestions do you have about the mountain range of origin, prophet?" asked a demon emperor. The mountain range of origin was extremely important to the demon realm. It was the place where the demon realm originated, and now some human cultivators had entered it, so they wanted to know how to cope with it. Now, they needed to ask the prophet's opinion one last time. Everything has its own time, just follow the trend of nature. Everything that should happen will eventually happen, and you will understand when it's the time. The prophet's thin, hazy voice came. His soul figure became more and more blurred as if it was about to turn into ashes under the flame of the great law. "My time is up. It's time for me to go accompany my prophet ancestors," the prophet said, letting out a long sigh. As the only remaining prophet of the prophet clan, he had felt lonely on earth. Today, he was finally free. Warriors of the demon clans all looked solemn, staring toward the direction of the prophet. Even some demon emperors bowed slightly in the direction of the prophet, saying, "Sir, may you go in peace." Seeing all the demon emperors like this, in the vast and boundless space, countless great demon beasts appeared in the upper sky, all bowing and saluting in the direction of the prophet. The prophet's figure became hazier and hazier, until turning into endless light spots, like stars, lighting up the vast space and drifting with the wind. Many demon beasts stretched out their hands, the light dots passed through their palms, and the vast endless void sky was filled with a touch of sadness. After today, there would no longer be prophets in the demon realm. Futian was standing in the lower sky. He could also feel the atmosphere, see the demon emperors showing up in the upper sky, and feel the life forces of tens of demon emperors. How horrifying the scene was. Moreover, there were many demon emperors not showing up, but they were watching it. At this moment, Futian started to understand the status of the prophet in the demon realm. However, because of this, his feelings were more complicated. Was the prophet's death because of him? Who was the last person to meet the prophet? At this moment, above the void air, a demon emperor asked. Below, many people's eyes fell on Futian. Jiang Mo of the celestial gate of vast heaven, saintesses of the Brahma's pure sky, and people of the heavenly mandate dynasty all had a strange look. When they saw Futian coming out so quickly, they all thought Futian was disappointed because he didn't get the answer he wanted and returned, but everything that happened after that trembled the demon realm. Was Futian the reason for the prophet's death? However, the moment the idea came to their minds, they just rejected it. It could not be possible. What kind of figure was the prophet? The demon emperors had to wait for his call to see him. His position in the entire demon realm was transcendent. They had also entered the prophet's palace before and seen the prophet. He could see through them with just a glance and make them fail to react. They were also top figures, but in front of the prophet, they were vulnerable like children. No matter how strong Futian's talent was, it couldn't be much different from theirs. How could he cause the prophet's death? The prophet might have been exhausted and had the idea of departing this life before Futian came in. I was the last one who met the prophet. Futian looked at the demon emperor and replied. Everyone was watching him. He couldn't hide anywhere. Did prophet say something? The demon emperor asked. Was the last person who saw the prophet a human cultivator? If so, the prophet might not leave anything. The prophet looked at me and let me go, didn't leave anything. I was a bit angry when I came out, but the things after scared me, Futian replied. The demon emperor heard his words and nodded, without asking anything. The prophet had said not to investigate the reason. It was his time, and everything had an end. A prophet of the demon realm, of course, couldn't die because of a human cultivator of Saint Plain. The demon emperor sighed. Unfortunately, the prophet just departed his life like this before he had the chance to visit him. There was no reason and nothing was left. Should we check all the humans and demon beasts here? Another demon emperor asked. Was the prophet's death related to what he saw from these people today? No need. You have heard the last words of the prophet before he died. Why bother doing it? Let it be. Another demon emperor said. Other demon emperors didn't say much, and soon they all stepped into the sky and left. Those horrifying life forces also dissipated in the air. It didn't take long for everything in this world to return to peace. Only some Saint Plain warriors of demon clans still gathered here, looking at the prophet's palace. Today, there were still many great demon beasts waiting to see the prophet, but now, there was never a chance. Let's go, Xia Qingyuan whispered beside Futian. Here, she probably was the person who knew most except Yusheng. Before, her emperor father had told her that during the battle of Ultimate Holy Palace, something was exposed from Futian. Her father gave the order to block everything, and later, he summoned Futian to come to the upper realm and wiped out all memories related to that incident. Only those in the Ultimate Holy Palace knew about it. And she knew that even the Ultimate Holy Palace was in her father's field of vision. Although she did not know who the figure that entered the Emperor Xia's palace was at that time, she knew he must be an extremely powerful person. Futian's background was probably a very big secret, so big that even a Renhuang couldn't unveil it. And now, after seeing him, the prophet departed this life. Others wouldn't think much because they didn't know Futian's situation, but she couldn't help thinking about it. It was probably because of Futian. But it was also shocking to her that the prophet chose to pass away because of it. What did the prophet see? What was Futian's secret? She didn't want to think too much. This place they were in was dangerous. They had to leave first. Many people around Futian also had some rough ideas, but they all remained silent. Qi Xinggang also said, "Let's go." He was also a person who could see great law destinies. What happened today made him feel unusual. Even though he always thought highly of Futian, Now it seemed that this disciple's fortune was way more powerful than he had imagined, so powerful that he couldn't even speculate. And the prophet of demon realm in this field was far superior to him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Futian and his group just walked away. Many people stared at them but did not stop them. Futian and his group just walked away. Many people stared at them but did not stop them. After all, it was still impossible for them to associate the death of a legendary prophet of the demon realm with a human Saint Plain cultivator. Didn't you ask about her? Xia Qingyuan asked Futian while they traveled in the void sky. Futian shook his head and delivered his voice back. I didn't lie. After seeing the prophet, I didn't ask anything, and he didn't say anything. Futian suddenly realized that he should have asked. However, the moment he stepped into the prophet's palace, the prophet just stared at him with a pair of red eyes, and soon blood oozed from those eyes. In such a situation he only thought about walking away. How could he ask anything? At that time, he couldn't expect that the prophet directly departed this life after he came out, and it was because of this that he began to change some of his previous thoughts. The prophet's death doesn't have anything to do with you, right? Zhu Xiao suddenly asked Futian. Futian was stirred slightly. He looked at Zhu Xiao and said, What do you think? Zhu Xiao shook his head. Even he felt this idea a bit too crazy. He was the only prophet in the demon realm, and why would he choose to depart this life because of Futian? It's just way too strange. Gu Tianxing entered the place of origin of the demon realm, and warriors from all over the demon realm came together. There was news from the prophet's palace that a drastic change would happen in the heavenly mandate realm. Later, the prophet continually summoned people and passed away. It seems that the demon realm is not at peace this time. Zhu Xiao raised a brow and seemed to be thinking. Let's see what will happen, Futian said. What kind of person is your third brother? Zhu Xiao asked. Now he had known the relationship between Futian and Gu Donglu. Everything started because of this descendant of the Gu clan, and if it had not been for him, Gu Tianxing would have not shown up. How can I know? Futian asked and shrugged. I heard that many people speculated he was the grandson and only descendant of Gu Tianxing and son of the peerless talent of the celestial gate of vast heaven Gu Jiangnan in the heavenly mandate realm, but at that time, nobody had heard that he had any children, Zhu Xiao said. He had also heard about the name of Gu Jiangnan, the gallant hero of the celestial gate of vast heaven in the demon realm. He was the youngest Renhuang in the history of the celestial gate of vast heaven. Gu Jiangnan, Futian murmured. Does he have any story? At that time, he was considered to have the potential to surpass Gu Tianxing. But a conflict erupted between him and the crown prince of the heavenly mandate dynasty, and he was besieged and killed. It was because of this incident that Gu Tianxing wiped out the heavenly mandate dynasty, which caused a monstrous commotion that shook the entire heavenly mandate realm. Zhu Xiao slowly said, Speaking of this, I also think that the conjecture of the people of the heavenly mandate dynasty is correct. It must be true that only the son of Gu Jiangnan can lead to the death of Gu Tianxing. A large sealing charm was on his body, which I guess was put on by Gu Tianxing and the Gu clan 12 immortals, so even a Renhuang could not detect it. I'm afraid that your brother will disturb the peace of the heavenly mandate realm. What are we going to do next? Futian asked. He didn't say much. No matter what the third brother's identity was, it didn't matter. He only knew that Gu Donglu was his third brother of the cottage. Didn't you see that all the demon emperors have arrived? Now, all we need to do is wait with patience and see what they will do, said Zhu Xiao. Okay, Futian said and nodded. Zhu Xiao was more familiar with the demon realm than Futian. Futian couldn't use his strength here at all, so now following others was indeed the most suitable choice. They found an inn to stay the night in the demon metropolis. In the following days, the demon metropolis bustled. The news that Gu Tianxing had appeared in the mountain range of origin caused a commotion in the demon realm. Countless big demon beasts came to investigate, and now many top demon clans were gathering in the demon metropolis. The underground waves were surging. Both human cultivators and demon clan warriors who wanted to collect news were preparing to enter the mountain range of origin. The mountain range of origin was known in the heavenly mandate realm as the demon's place of origin. There were many legends about it, and it was the forbidden land of the demon clans. But now some human cultivators had entered there, so they had to go in. For human cultivators from the heavenly mandate realm, they wanted Gu Tianxing's news. Whatever the news was, it would have great influence and might even affect the whole heavenly mandate realm. At this moment, in the demon metropolis, in the void sky, there is a group of people walking in the air. Zhu Zhao and Yi Futian were walking at the front and seemed to be rushing to somewhere. Just now the news came that those demon clans were getting ready to enter the mountain's range of origin. Right now, many demon warriors are heading toward the Celestial Fox Palace and want to borrow the ability of the Celestial Fox clan, Zhu Zhao said. But the Celestial Foxes are cunning and intelligent by nature. They will be ripped off if they want to take advantage of them. What special abilities does the Celestial Fox clan have? Yi Futian asked. The Celestial Fox Palace is one of the most attractive places of the demon metropolis, even more than the Prophet's Palace because the Prophet seldom summoned people, even demon emperors could rarely visit, so usually no demon warriors were going there, but the Celestial Fox Palace is different. The Celestial Fox Palace opens the biggest trading place of the demon metropolis, which is a miracle in itself. In addition to their special talent, the extraordinary intelligence of the Celestial Fox clan is also a factor of their success. Zhu Zhao explained to Yi Futian. The Celestial Fox clan indeed had superior intelligence. Many warriors of demon clans said the average intelligence of the Celestial Fox clan might be the highest among all demon clans, and they were good at scheming. Even when they were weak, they were able to negotiate well between top clans. And today, they had also become a very powerful demon force. Moreover, it maintained a very friendly relationship with many top demon clans. Those top demon clans would not touch them, and other demons dare not assault them. Warriors of the Celestial Fox clan have a strange skill of transformation, and they also know the powerful magic of phantom illusion, which makes them the demon beast clan that most frequently enters the mountain range of origin. The Celestial Fox clan uses the mountain range of origin to hide their treasure and often enter it to dig out treasures and hold open auctions to sell them. With their talent for business, they gradually made the Celestial Fox Palace a well-known trading place for the demon metropolis. It's famous for being the first demon trading place in the world. Zhu Zhao said, "You should know that demon beasts are different from humans. Most demon beasts are not good at trading and prefer to directly steal what they want. Although the world of human cultivators is also full of cheating and scheming, the dirty tricks are in a deeper sense and more civilized on the surface, which is why there are more trading places there." So, asking the Celestial Fox clan for help is doing trade with them, Yi Futian asked. The Celestial Fox clan will naturally think in this way. Now, all warriors want to enter the mountain range of origin, and if they want to use the power of the Celestial Fox clan, they can just wait and see how the commission skyrockets, Zhu Zhao said. Yi Futian nodded slightly. Also, the female beasts of the Celestial Fox clan are all alluring fox spirits, Zhu Zhao said and took a look at Yi Futian with a smile. "Brother, don't be fooled by fox spirits," the princess of the Feathermen clan said, smiling. "What level of fox spirit can trick me?" Zhu Zhao asked disdainfully. Although many demon beasts had some special habits, he had no interest in those kinds of habits at all. "It's here," Zhu Zhao said, gazing downward. There was a large palace standing there. The peaks of the palaces seemed to be shrouded by clouds and mist, much like the castles described in fairy tales. The Celestial Fox Palace was extremely vast, far grander than the single prophet's palace. "Let's go down." And they descended and arrived outside of the Celestial Fox Palace. There were warriors of different demon beast clans gathering all around, together with a few human cultivators. Besides, the most conspicuous people were the fox spirits that Zhu Zhao talked about. Young women of the Celestial Fox clan in human form were all extremely beautiful. Their skin was smooth like silk, looking very delicate. Their bodies were fair and unblemished. The most attractive thing about them was their eyes, which were the perfect shape and could steal a man's soul and enchant even the most indecisive demon warrior's heart with a single glance. Yi Futian, they didn't attract much attention after they landed. After all, powerful demon warriors were everywhere. However, there were several young women of the Celestial Fox clan walking toward them. They all had strange charms when they walked. That pair of fox eyes gazed at them. Even though Yi Futian was used to being around beauties, he still felt that these women of the Celestial Fox clan had a natural charm. "Are you the crown prince of the Celestial Demon City?" a woman asked while looking at Zhu Zhao. Great demon beasts of the Zhu Yan clan were rare, and most members of the Zhu clan were in the Celestial Demon City and governed by the Zhu Yan Demon Emperor. The Celestial Fox clan was always sociable and resourceful, and they had an immense knowledge of all forces of the demon clan. They had heard that there were 4 princes in the Celestial Demon City with the demon crown prince Zhu Zhao as the lead, and now these 4 people were in front of them. Zhu Zhao glanced at the female fox. Although it was not surprising that she could recognize them, a sage plain demon beast who could recognize him with one look must have some extraordinary abilities. Zhu Zhao nodded slightly and avoided her eyes, looking forward. "Your Highness, wait a moment," she said. She seemed to have understood something and retreated, with an alluring smile on her face. A moment later, a beautiful woman with an even more unusual temperament came. Every smile of hers was touching. "Hu Yaoer is here to salute the Crown Prince and your Highnesses," the woman bowed slightly and said. She was actually a fox demon beast of Doctrine Saint Plain, but she didn't show any arrogance and acted humbly. Her eyes glanced at them and lingered for a while when she saw Yi Futian. Her eyes seemed to be able to steal anyone's soul. "You must be Master Yi," said Hu Yaoer with a smile. Yi Futian looked at her in surprise. It was nothing special to be able to recognize the Zhu Yan Demon Crown Prince, but now she also recognized him, which meant the Celestial Fox clan was indeed very sensitive to news. "Yes, but I am afraid I don't deserve the title, Lady Yaoer," Yi Futian replied. "Yaoer is just a beast. I don't deserve the title, Lady, either. Please just call me Yaoer," she said with a smile. When she talked, she slightly lowered her head and giggled, and looked at him with her gorgeous eyes. Yi Futian felt like he would be captivated by her eyes. "It is the charming craft," Yi Futian thought to himself. "What are we doing here?" Xia Qingyuan asked coldly, interrupting the conversation. She stared at Hu Yaoer and felt there was something wrong with her. She was indeed a fox spirit. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Hu Yaoer looked at Xia Qingyuan. People of the Celestial Fox clan all had excellent intelligence. Of course, she understood what she meant. Hu Yaoer looked at Xia Qingyuan. People of the Celestial Fox clan all had excellent intelligence. Of course, she understood what she meant. Xia Qingyuan stared at her and saw that pair of foxy eyes, thinking to herself that no wonder she was a fox spirit. Even though she was a woman, she could still feel how seductive her eyes were. "Your Highnesses and Mr. Yi are all distinguished guests. Please come on in and have a seat," Hu Yaoer looked away and said with a smile. When ordinary demon warriors came, the Celestial Fox clan would not send their core disciples to receive them. Zhu Yan Demon Emperor who ruled the Celestial Demon City was not an ordinary big demon beast, and he was very powerful. Zhu Zhao nodded. Hu Yaoer led them through the crowd, passing through the outer space. There were fewer demon beasts and humans outside. In front of them, there was an independent area, which was encircled by fences. Ordinary demon beasts were not allowed to enter. Only those demon beasts or human cultivators with special identities were eligible to come here. Yi Futian glanced at the crowd and got a strange look on his face. He saw acquaintances, warriors of the Violet Heavenly Palace were also here. It seemed that they were also preparing to enter the mountain range of origin, and they wanted to ask the warriors of the Celestial Fox clan for help. People of the Violet Heavenly Palace also saw Yi Futian, but they looked quite indifferent. Yi Futian led people to challenge the Violet Heavenly Palace. They would not let it go. Moreover, Yi Futian seemed to be mingling with the Zhu Yan Demon Crown Prince. It seemed that they had been together since their battle. Warriors from other demon clans also looked at Zhu Zhao and Yi Futian, but they didn't care too much. People who were able to come here were not ordinary. Even though they knew Zhu Zhao's identity, they didn't care much. Today we have a few good things in the Celestial Fox Palace. They are all from the mountain range of origin. Your Highnesses and Mr. Yi, please take a look if you are interested, Hu Yaoer said in an extremely gentle voice with a unique charm. Her voice was pleasing to Yi Futian and others' ears. Only Xia Qingyuan showed a cold face and stared towards Hu Yaoer from time to time. Hu Yaoer was not the only one here. There was a stunningly gorgeous celestial fox woman beside every group of big demon beasts and humans. Human female cultivators would be jealous of their innate beauty. Is it a coincidence? Yi Futian wondered. Now, many top figures needed the Celestial Fox clan's help to enter the mountain range of origin, but the Celestial Fox clan took out the treasures of mountain range of origin for sale. It was indeed the best time to promote the value of the goods. At this moment, someone in the front came to his side. An old white Celestial Fox elder walked at the forefront. Several ladies carried a qiankuan tree behind them, and bizarre things were hanging on the branches of the tree. Warriors of the Celestial Fox clan put it in front of the crowd. The old man with white hair and white beard looked at the people and said, "All these things on the qiankuan tree are from the mountain range of origin, but their specific usage and functions are not yet known. They are tradable here." The eyes of demon beasts and humans all fell on the treasures of the qiankuan tree. Hu Yaoer said, "Just tell me if you want to take a closer look, I can bring them here for you to look at." People who came here were qualified to see these treasures at a close distance and judge their value. But I should remind you that some of these treasures may be much more valuable than the transaction price, but they may also be worthless, said Hu Yaoer softly. The way of making deals in the Celestial Fox Palace is so special. Yi Futian said and smiled. In the place where humans traded, shop owners usually first judged the value of the treasure and then set a reserve price. It seemed different here. Yes, Hu Yaoer gently nodded and said, "These things are all from the mountain range of origin. Most of them are extremely valuable treasures, but there are also ordinary things. We picked them up and brought back. Customers need to judge their value and then bid by yourselves, and we Celestial Fox Palace never touch them." "I see," Yi Futian said and nodded with a smile. The Celestial Fox Palace probably wouldn't do loss-making trading, so it was very likely that they had made an evaluation beforehand. He looked at the treasures on the qiankuan tree, which were all somehow peculiar. For example, there was a huge monster egg with a seal on it that could not be seen through even with the thought method. It was difficult to judge what was inside. There was also a rusty knife with crevices, but one could still tell the original appearance of the knife must be dangerous. Moreover, on the rusty blade, there was still a faint lingering knife will, as if it hadn't dissipated even after many years. One could imagine how strong the knife will was in the past. Next to this knife was a sword with a rusty scabbard. There seemed to be a gap between the sword and the scabbard. From this gap, a beam of strong light could be seen faintly, but life force could not be felt from it. It was difficult to guess what level of sword it was. Beside them, there was a piece of bone with no sense of life force. Nobody knew why it was hung there. "You can pick and choose the ones you like," the white-haired old man said to them, left his place and hid behind the qiankuan tree. "Can you show me the sword?" Yi Futian pointed at the sword with the rusty scabbard and said, "Sure," Yaoer said and nodded. She went to pick up the sword and came back to Yi Futian, holding it in her hands. Yi Futian's eyes flickered with a strange ray of light. His mind tried to invade inside the sword but was blocked by the invisible sword will. The old man of the Celestial Fox clan watched the scene quietly. How was that possible to let Yi Futian see inside the situation? After a while, Yi Futian looked up and said to the old man of Celestial Fox Palace, "What's the price?" "We in the Celestial Fox Palace have never touched it since we got it from the mountain of origin. It is also the rule of all things being traded in the Celestial Fox Palace. We keep traded goods wholly intact. We in the Celestial Fox Palace do not know what level of sword it is, but we have an estimate that this sword might be used by a human emperor," the old man said. "Or it is just a rusty sword?" Yi Futian asked. If what the elder said was true, Yi Futian was willing to believe that the Celestial Fox Palace had not touched it before. However, at least, warriors of the Celestial Fox Palace had an estimate in mind, and they would not trade at a loss. Among all the goods being traded, there must be many worthless things, among which 1 or 2 treasures were hidden. Indeed, the old man said with a smile, so, the price of this sword has been evaluated with a reserve price according to the limit of Renhuang belongings, and the one who bids the highest price will finally get it. If you want, you can directly deliver your voice to me and say your price. There is only one chance, and whoever pays the highest price will get it. There was only one chance to bid, which was the rule of the Celestial Fox Palace and was used to create tension. Many of the objects unearthed from the mountain range of origin were extraordinary and coveted by many people. However, people didn't seem interested in the sword. Okay, Yi Futian nodded and soon said his price to the old man. The old man's eyes flickered and seemed to be listening, but in fact, others were just watching and didn't bid. For this sword, not many people showed interest. Anyone else want to bid? The old man asked and glanced at the people present. No one spoke to him, so he smiled and announced, so, the sword belongs to Mr. Yi now. Congratulations, Mr. Yi, Hu Yaoer said with a smile. Yi Futian took out a storage ring and gave it to Hu Yaoer, and she handed it over to the old man. After checking, the old man smiled and said, do you want to try out the sword? I'm also curious about what level of sword it is. Wuchen, you have a try. Yi Futian gave it to Yi Wuchen beside him. Yi Wuchen took it with his right hand, then grabbed the scabbard with his left hand, pulling the sword with his right hand. After a moment, the dazzling light of the sword shone, and the mighty life force swept across the surrounding space. The whole sword body was shining, from which a wisp of imperial life force came out, with extremely appalling power. In the glow of light, Yi Wuchen's face was also illuminated. He stared at the sword, slightly stirred by it. It was indeed a sword used by a Renhuang, containing Renhuang's will. Noises rose from the crowd behind. The place was in an uproar. Nobody knew how much Yi Futian had paid, but since it was a sword used by Renhuang, it was a good deal. And he might have earned a lot. He was quite decisive. However, there were still many treasures and opportunities. Show me this. Many people pointed at the same thing and said almost at the same time. They were pointing at a giant stone lying on the Qiankuan tree. The stone seemed to have experienced years of weathering, and inside the stone, there seemed to be an inscription. The inscription seemed to be written by hand. The characters even contained will and released a faint light, which illuminated the whole giant stone. Moreover, the handwriting they saw was only the tip of the iceberg. Only the top few characters could be seen. Treasures like stone steels were often used to record the cultivation method and magical skills, or left by powerful cultivators during cultivation, so it seemed to many people that this huge stone was likely to be an extremely valuable thing. Many people wanted to bet on it and see what the steel inside the boulder was. Everyone, excuse us, said the old man. A celestial fox woman took up the steel and walked towards those who wanted it. Yi Futian didn't compete with them. He didn't know what this thing was. However, for the first treasure, the Celestial Fox clan had made a loss. Would they lose money for other things? Since the Celestial Fox clan was known for outstanding intelligence, it certainly would not be that simple. However, at this moment, Yi Futian's attention was on another inconspicuous object. No one noticed it at all. Aren't you interested in it? A lot of people seem to be competing for the stone. If it is something left by an ancient big figure, its value could be astronomical, Hu Yaoer whispered to Yi Futian. I'm not richer than they are. Yi Futian shrugged and smiled. These treasures from the mountain range of origin were all very expensive, some of which were even Renhuang level. In this situation, although Yi Futian's resources were enough for his cultivation, they wouldn't be enough to compete with others. Hu Yaoer smiled and said, you must be joking, Lord Yi. However, human cultivators like to engrave their magical powers and the like on stone tablets, creating powerful inscriptions. When the Great War between humans and demons broke out, many imperial-level figures were buried in the mountains. You have speculated that a Renhuang left this inscription. There is a high probability that this is true. Hu Yaoer smiled and said, you must be joking, Lord Yi. However, human cultivators like to engrave their magical powers and the like on stone tablets, creating powerful inscriptions. When the Great War between humans and demons broke out, Many imperial-level figures were buried in the mountains. You have speculated that a Renhuang left this inscription. There is a high probability that this is true. Yi Futian looked into Hu Yaoer's bright eyes that were full of sincerity. It was like there was no ulterior motive within them. Perhaps. However, I do not want to gamble on this, said Yi Futian. And he was not lying. If it came down to him, he was nowhere near good enough. This celestial fox palace presented him with an opportunity. He could use something small to obtain something great. Of course, he was not purely gambling. He had significant advantages when compared to others. He could use his powers to see what was going on. If you don't have enough cultivation resources, I can lend you some, said Zhu Zhao beside him. Yi Futian shook his head. No need. Then can I try? Asked Zhu Zhao. Yi Futian shook his head again. There is no need to gamble. Zhu Zhao looked at him for a moment and then nodded. Many of the other cultivators were getting themselves ready. The Violet Heavenly Palace seemed to be interested in the steel as well and were preparing to make an offer for it. You all may send your offers. Same rules as always. You still only have one chance. Whoever offers the highest price will be the one to get it, said the elder of the Tianhu clan. The cultivators were all silent for a bit, then began to call out their offers. Those who wanted it more quoted higher prices. Moreover, since they already had their estimates, it would be difficult for them not to pay a high price if they wanted this treasure. The demonic beasts and human cultivators around them were watching. Everything was in chaos amid the clamor of voices. Although most of the people there were only there to watch the auction, they were still very interested in it. Who else? The elder of the Tianhu clan asked again. After a moment, he looked at everyone and smiled. His gaze fell onto one particular place. Congratulations to everyone from the Violet Heavenly Palace, he said. It seemed that the Violet Heavenly Palace had won the treasure. They truly are worthy of being called the top force in the Heavenly Mandate realm. They are both wealthy and vigorous, said Yi Futian with a smile. The Violet Heavenly Palace would get their prize, but they would pay a high price to do so. The daughter of the Tianhu clan held the steel up before the people from the Violet Heavenly Palace. A sharp look flashed across their faces. One of them reached for the stone, eliminating all of their outward impurities. Soon, traces appeared on the stone. Brilliant light flashed, dazzling everyone. Everyone looked towards it. The area grew even noisier. Many of the ancient beasts were roaring without end. Finally, the brilliant light shone from the stone steel. Characters were imprinted upon the stone one by one. They were imposing in their magnificence. Everyone was staring there, including all of the cultivators of the Violet Heavenly Palace. But their gazes quickly froze. Ha! Came the laugh of a demonic beast. So this is a treasure left behind by a Renhuang. How incredible! Unfortunately, it is not a spell. It is just a record of his career. It was probably the final thing he wrote before he died. Thus, it has a special meaning. Many of the demonic beasts cried out. Seeing the top human cultivators of the Violet Heavenly Realm humiliated made them incredibly excited. The cultivators of the Violet Heavenly Palace looked crestfallen. The thing they had gotten was just what they had thought it was a Renhuang relic, and a Renhuang had carved the characters in it. Thus, many people had competed for it. But it was not some powerful spell of the Great Path. It was just a simple introduction, and it did not even contain that much will. Although the things that a Renhuang wrote naturally contained will, and thus were treasured objects, it was not anywhere near worth the price they had paid for it. They had paid a massive price to get this object. Although you may be a little disappointed, it is after all a Renhuang relic. It is precious, said the elder of the Tianhu clan comfortingly. The people from the Violet Heavenly Palace did not say anything. They had made their gamble. Now they had to accept their loss. They looked involuntarily at Yi Futian. Had he made a bid for this one? From what he had said before, he seemed uninterested in it and had even asked Zhu Zhao not to gamble for it. Could it be that he had seen something? Zhu Zhao looked at Yi Futian as well. This guy could not know a trick like this, could he? Are you all still looking at that one? Asked the elder. The next few treasures also had people who were interested in them. They were auctioned in turn, and one of them was actually very good, but the rest were rather commonplace. Many people sighed at this. Celestial Fox Palace was quite powerful. Although they had never touched these items, they were still able to estimate their prices. It seemed that only the sword that Yi Futian had taken at first was worth very much. Moreover, after that, Yi Futian had not been interested in any of the other treasures. He had not made any other bids. Read more chapter on novel full soon. There was only one treasure left on the ancient tree. It was a bone that looked plain and simple, and there was no aura emanating from it. It seemed to have been marked by the passage of time. It seemed to have experienced quite a lot. This piece of bone was plain and had no aura. It looked just like an ordinary demonic beast's bone. Thus, no one inquired about it. But it still appeared on the ancient tree. However, no one there was interested in it, especially since they had all seen how common everything that had come before it was. "Is no one interested in this bone?" asked the elder. "It is the only treasure left. It may be a bit common, but it comes from the Origin Mountains. It is both heavy and solid. Even someone who has cultivated up to my level cannot leave so much as a mark upon it. Thus, it must be the bone of a demon emperor. Even if you just use it to forge a weapon, it will be quite useful." He knew that this bone was a bit too unremarkable, and the Tianhu clan could not determine its value. Their experience had shown them that a truly powerful bone of a demon emperor would have an incredibly strong aura. It would not be like this. It has no external aura. "Can it truly be the bone of a demon emperor?" asked Yi Futian. "A saint cannot leave a mark on it. What do you think?" "If it was weak, it would already be broken and would not have appeared here," said the elder. "The Tianhu clan would not bring something worthless to trade." "Can I see how heavy it is?" asked Yi Futian. "If I can't break it either, that's fine. I won't compete for it." The elder saw that no one else was interested, then nodded. "Fine. Yao, will you go get it for me?" asked Yi Futian. Hu Yaoer nodded and walked over. She brought the bone back to him. Yi Futian took it, and suddenly he could feel how heavy it was. It did not seem to be a bone, but rather a massive demonic beast. Threads of aura swept out and entered into the bone and then disappeared. He gave it back to Hu Yaoer and said, "It is indeed very heavy. It is quite possible that it is, in fact, a bone of a renhuang. But even so, it is not very useful. I know an elder who is good at forging things, and thus I will consider trading a saint-level technique for it. If this is not enough for you, then I don't want it." The elder looked at Yi Futian and saw how indifferent he looked. No one else looked interested either. He smiled bitterly and said, "A renhuang bone cannot be compared to a technique in terms of its solidness alone. However, selling it for such a low price would bring shame to the Tianhu clan. Everyone, please make an offer." Yi Futian nodded. "Fine." But he did not make another offer. A cultivator from the Violet Heavenly Palace swept his gaze over Yi Futian, then made an offer to the elder. The elder had not been listening to the price that Yi Futian had quoted, but the rules of the Celestial Fox Palace forbade him from repeating it. He could only say, "Anybody else?" Yi Futian smiled and then quoted a price to the elder. When he heard him, the elder stared at him for a long time. The people of the Tianhu clan were all very cunning. Humans were naturally much smarter than demonic beasts, and this guy was definitely up to something. His offer was several times that which he had said before. He was not as indifferent as he seemed. He had just quoted a reasonable price. He looked at him and said, "Since no one else wants it, congratulations, Lord Yi." Yi Futian smiled and gave another item to Hu Yao. The cultivator from the Violet Heavenly Palace frowned and said, "Are you sure it was him?" The elder understood his doubts. He nodded seriously and said, "The Celestial Fox Palace is not so generous as to purposely give him a low price. The price that Lord Yi quoted is different from what he said before." The cultivator from the Violet Heavenly Palace's face darkened. This may not have been an important matter, but they had previously tried hard to prevent Yi Futian from getting this and had thus quoted a price twice as much as he had. However, in the end Yi Futian was the one who had gotten it. They had tried to scheme against Yi Futian, but he had schemed against them as well. He was naturally quite unhappy about this. "Congratulations, Lord Yi." Hu Yaoer brought the bone to Yi Futian. But at that moment, a voice came from behind him, saying, "What did he pay? I will pay double." Everyone turned and looked at the people who were approaching. Everyone moved aside to make a path for them. The elder was very perceptive. He narrowed his eyes and looked at them. He knew where they had come from, but said, "Forgive me, we have already sold all of our items. We cannot make any more deals." The leader of the people walked up to him, then turned to look at Yi Futian. Yi Futian looked back at him, then hid the bone away. He had gotten it and he was not going to let it get away. "Whatever price you paid for it, I will give you double. Why don't you give me that bone?" said the head of the people who had just arrived to Yi Futian. Yi Futian smiled and shook his head. "This bone will be useful for forging weapons. Since I've already bought it, I'm not going to give it to you. I'll give you 10 times what you paid for it." The other man seemed not to hear what Yi Futian had said as he directly called out this astonishing price. 10 times what Yi Futian had paid. If Yi Futian just let the bone go, he could get back 10 times what he paid. Everyone was speechless. This transaction could be profitable for him. Yi Futian looked the other man in the eye. "I'm not selling it." As he said this, everyone stared at him. He had been offered 10 times what he had paid, and yet he would not sell it. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The person at the head of the group of people who had just arrived wore white. His face was handsome in an unusual way, and his face was lined. The person at the head of the group of people who had just arrived wore white. His face was handsome in an unusual way, and his face was lined. His pitch-black hair was magnificent, and a pair of pure white wings flared out behind him. A silver spear seemed to be fixed between his wings. There was only one family in the demon realm that wore such clothes. Naturally, most of the people there recognized him. They had come from Inzhao Mountain in the demon realm. It was the most powerful force in the realm. They were even stronger than the Tianhu clan. The Tianhu clan would not even dare to provoke them. The elder of Inzhao Mountain had the power to know everything under heaven. It was said that he was able to shake the sky with a single thrust of his spear. Right now was a turbulent time for the demons. Everyone knew that all of the great demon families were coming. Even the great demons of Inzhao Mountain were there. Moreover, it seemed that they were very interested in the bone that Yi Futian had just bought. He did not even know how much Yi Futian had paid, and he had still offered to pay 10 times as much. But what was even stranger was that Yi Futian had refused him. What did this mean? At that moment, the elder of Celestial Fox Palace's eyes flashed. He looked at the man who was leading the people from Inzhao Mountain, then back to Yi Futian. For some reason, he felt like he was being tricked. Previously, Yi Futian had told him that he was not interested in the bone, but he thought that he could give it to his friend to use in his forging. He had said that that was the only reason he wanted it. But the price he had ended up paying was several times more than he had initially offered. And now, the demonic beast from Inzhao Mountain had offered him 10 times as much, and he was still not willing to sell it. And he said he didn't care about it? Only a fool would believe that. But, just like Yi Futian had thought, these people who had come out of the ground in the Origin Mountains had all been personally evaluated by the clan elders. They knew that a truly worthwhile treasure could not be easily sold. This bone was indeed the bone of a demon emperor. That was obvious from how solid it was. But there was nothing else special about it. It felt like it had no great uses, and thus they had decided to sell it. And indeed, once they brought it out, no one had made any offers for it. This seemed to prove that the Tianhu clan had judged this situation correctly. But now this unexpected thing had happened. Yi Futian had bought it, but it seemed that the cultivators from Inzhao Mountain had come for it as well. Is this guy that petty? Everyone thought. Yi Futian had decisively won the first treasure, the sword. He got it for a great price and then had not made any more bids. That was until the bone that no one else wanted had come out. He had bought it while pretending that he didn't really want it. But he had been very keen to obtain it, and so he had outmaneuvered the Violet Heavenly Palace. Could it be that this bone was truly so special? The head of the people from Inzhao Mountain stared at Yi Futian. He really would not sell it for 10 times the price? Was he just trying to get even more for it, or did he know what the bone was? Once he tried it out, he would know. I come from Inzhao Mountain. That bone is useful to me. 10 times the price should be more than enough for you, Your Excellency. If you give it to me, you'll have made a friend. How does that sound? Said the great demon from Inzhao Mountain. I'll have made a friend? Said Yi Futian with a cold smile. He did not even know what this bone was. But 10 times the price was not enough. I'm sorry, but this is also of use to me. Yi Futian was still smiling. The cultivator from Inzhao's face fell. Was the name Inzhao Mountain not enough to sway him? If Yi Futian did not know what it was, then him offering 10 times what he had paid and then mentioning the name Inzhao Mountain should have been enough to make him willing to sell it to him. Could it be that this human could really tell what it was? It is of no use to you. Only we from Inzhao Mountain can make use of it. I can trade an artifact from a demon emperor for it. Would that be enough? Asked the head of the people from Inzhao Mountain. When he said this, everyone around them went still. He would trade an artifact of a demon emperor for a bone. Who could refuse such a deal? What is that bone? All of the demons were staring at Yi Futian. Given what the cultivator from Inzhao had said, he clearly knew the bone's history. Otherwise, he wouldn't have offered to trade an artifact from a demon emperor for it. The whole area had gone quiet. This was the final offer from Inzhao Mountain. This was as much as he could possibly do and still hope to keep face. Otherwise, he would probably have to wait until Yi Futian left the Celestial Fox Palace and try to seize it from him. This bone might have been worth even more than an artifact from a demon emperor. And since the people from Inzhao Mountain wanted it, he was adapting to the circumstances. Inzhao Mountain probably would not pay a higher price. It was not a question of whether or not the bone was worth more. It was that if Yi Futian continued to refuse them, it would make them angry, and they would refuse to bargain anymore. In that case, they would use other methods to obtain it. Yi Futian could naturally feel the subtleties of the situation. He understood that if he still could not see sense, he would offend the people from Inzhao Mountain without a doubt. He had seen that this bone was far from ordinary, and thus he had wanted to touch it with his life spirit. Just as expected, he felt a reaction from it. This meant that this bone probably had an extraordinary history, but even the people from the Celestial Fox Palace could not tell that just by looking at it. Now, Inzhao Mountain's actions proved what he was thinking. This bone was probably not merely the bone of a demon emperor. Zhu Zhao walked forward. If he won't sell it, he won't sell it. There's no need to keep talking about it, he said to the head of the people from Inzhao Mountain. Zhu Zhao, the demonic beast from Inzhao Mountain, swept his gaze over him. His expression was cold. He did not care about his status at all. This is not your concern. We came together, so it is my concern, Zhu Zhao answered calmly. The bone is already his. If you want some treasures, you need to go and bid for them. The demon from Inzhao Mountain frowned. A faint silver light shone in his dark eyes as he looked at them coolly. Get out of here. Did Zhu Zhao think that Zhu Yan the demon emperor was someone to be feared? Maybe he could be threatening to other demon families, but what was he to the cultivators of Inzhao Mountain? And how much less threatening was a mere prince? He had already given them plenty of chance to save face. It would be nothing to give up an artifact from a demon emperor if they could obtain the bone, but if they would still not accept it, then they would have to stop being so polite. Zhu Zhao stared at him with his golden eyes. A powerful demonic aura rose from him and shot out towards his opponent. Get out of here. His low voice rang out, almost reaching the level of a shout by the time it reached his opponent's ears. In a flash, a burst of pressure filled the area. The great demon of Inzhao Mountain and the demon prince of the celestial demon city faced off against each other. A violent aura burst out from the demon from Inzhao Mountain as well. The two demonic beasts' auras clashed between them, which whipped up a powerful storm of qi. As soon as the elder of Celestial Fox Palace saw them about to fight, he could not help but say, "If there is a problem, you can talk about it. There is no need to disturb the harmony of this place. I've heard that you are quite powerful, Zhu Zhao of Celestial Demon City. I'm glad that I have a chance to see how strong the progeny of Zhu Yan is." The great demon from Inzhao Mountain's voice was sharp. His wings flared out behind him, and his body transformed into a bolt of white lightning. He rose high into the air. He beat his wings elegantly. He reached behind him and pulled out the long spear, clenching it in his fist. Suddenly, an astonishingly sharp aura spread out. Boom! There was a loud noise as Zhu Zhao shot up into the air, full of wild power and energy. He looked up at the figure above him and reached out. A spear of golden flames appeared in his hand, and the golden light in his eyes shot up towards the figure in the sky. However, golden armor appeared on the figure in the sky. Zhu Zhao's spear continued upwards, growing larger as it did. It seemed able to shatter the very air itself. His opponent's figure flashed, and many bolts of white lightning appeared up in the sky. Many white phantoms appeared as well, and it was difficult to discern just how real they were. They moved quickly, and everywhere that the spear went, there were only phantoms. Bang! Zhu Zhao moved like a bolt of golden lightning, rushing through the air at incredible speed as he shot towards his opponent. The white lightning flashed again. Zhu Zhao roared as he thrust his golden spear forward. It rose from where he was standing, and its shadow covered the sky, darkening the whole area. It was so big that even things thousands of meters away would be smashed by it. The great demon of Yingzhao Mountain flapped his wings, and he grew much larger. He had transformed into his true form. He beat his huge white wings, creating a powerful airflow. The will of the great path flowed as countless silver spears fell like starlight that fell with incredible speed. It was like a meteor shower. There was a terrible, sharp noise up in the air as the airflow roared like thunder. The massive spears slammed into each other, which was what created the awful sound. But the golden spear cut through the countless silver spears and continued forward, piercing towards the demon from Yingzhao Mountain's body. Zhu Zhao's form turned demonic and as big as a mountain. The spear grew even more powerful as it shot forward, making the sky itself tremble. There was a gust of wind as the demon from Yingzhao Mountain's wings flapped. He thrust the silver spear forward, and the gust of wind descended. The onrushing golden spear did not touch his body. He was so fast that he was hard to see with the naked eye. The spears scraped against each other, but the sound was lost in the wind. The power that the spear contained was simply astonishing. The demon from Yingzhao Mountain spiraled down like a meteor, cutting through the powerful aura as he shot towards Zhu Zhao. He's so fast. Everyone trembled as they watched the figures in the sky. They saw Zhu Zhao drop his spear as his body turned golden, and he thrust his fists out towards the descending demon from Yingzhao Mountain. The huge demonic beast roared, and the air trembled. Even the demon from Yingzhao Mountain's speed seemed to be affected by this. Snip, snip. Sharp sounds rang out as the spear descended. Silver light pierced the sky as it crashed into the golden fists and seemed to cut through them. A terrifying power shook the demon from Yingzhao Mountain, but at the same time, Zhu Zhao's golden fists were cut open, and blood began to flow from them. It was evident from this how powerful his opponent was. As he floated, the demon from Yingzhao thrust out with the spear. The wind gusted against his body as he looked down at his opponent. His eyes were filled with contempt for everything. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Zhu Zhao looked up into the air, his eyes filled with scorn. Zhu Zhao looked up into the air, his eyes filled with scorn. Roar! There was the roar of a massive beast, and suddenly, a mighty figure appeared up in the sky. He grew larger and larger. His body burned as it was bathed in golden flames. Golden fire shot out of his eyes, melting everything in their path. The great demon from Yingzhao Mountain frowned. He turned into silver light once again and then disappeared. An incomparably massive figure appeared. His eyes were burning with golden fire, and the temperature up there in the sky became scalding hot. The golden divine flames filled the vastness of the sky, locking down the entire area. There was nowhere that the great demon from Yingzhao Mountain could go. He can get even stronger. Yi Futian looked at Zhu Zhao. Unlike in the previous battle, Zhu Zhao still had some more power left, and thus he could become even stronger. The cultivators from the Violet Heavenly Palace were also naturally watching this scene with gloomy faces. The genius among them, Tanzimo, had once been defeated by Zhu Zhao, and apparently that had not even been him at his strongest. At that moment, it was possible that Tan Zimo would not even be able to provide a stimulating fight for him. Thinking of this, the cultivators from the Violet Heavenly Palace felt a keen sense of humiliation. The demon cultivators of the Celestial Fox Palace all sighed quietly. Zhu Zhao was truly worthy of being called the most outstanding genius of the Celestial Demon City. His power was genuinely frightening, and right now, he was simply astonishing. It was as if his strength had increased explosively. However, the great demon from Inzhao Mountain was incredibly powerful as well. A silver halo appeared around his body, then turned into a pattern of light. Countless spears flashed into life and shot out in all directions, smashing into the onrushing golden flames. He looked at his opponent with his silver eyes. His face was a bit downcast. Zhu Zhao's aura was powerful enough to make him feel threatened. At that moment, Zhu Zhao's wild figure seemed to dance as he flew. His mighty figure spread out until he filled the sky, becoming one with the qi of the air. The great demon of Inzhao Mountain roared in anger, and countless silver spears burst out from the halo around it, shooting straight towards the onrushing Zhu Zhao. Zhu Zhao flew upwards, and the spear of golden flames shot up from his hand into the sky, seeming like it would be able to tear right through it. The air shook as it flew through it. Many of the demon cultivators below them felt their hearts begin to tremble. Was this the power of Zhu Yan that they were seeing? It was simply astonishing. The demon of Ingzhao's figure flashed, and suddenly many reflections of him appeared all around. However, almost at the same time of that, the great demon of Zhu Yan waved his spear, and countless reflections of it appeared as well, waving just like the one that was actually in Zhu Zhao's hand. They shot out towards all of the different images of the demon of Ingzhao. There was no way to avoid an attack like this. The great demon of Ingzhao's face grew cold. Endless light of the great path descended from the sky and gathered up around his body. Afterward, they turned into countless silver lightning bolts that flashed downwards and smashed into the spears. Boom, boom, boom. The sounds of the lightning bolts smashing into the spears one after another rang out continuously. Countless attacks had been launched in an incredibly short period. All of the cultivators below were staring up into the sky. Their bodies seemed to tremble each time there was a collision up there. Bang! A figure was sent flying backward, and the spear went flying out of his hands. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The great demon of Inzhao Mountain had been forced backward. An ugly look came over the faces of the cultivators from Inzhao Mountain as they watched the scene. Many of them rose into the air. "You all want to fight together?" roared Lei Meng, the prince of the thunder gods. Suddenly, all of their cultivators rose into the sky as well. The whole area was covered in incomparably horrifying demonic qi. Up in the sky, the two figures were facing off. There was an extremely fierce look in Zhu Zhao's eyes as he looked at the great demon of Inzhao Mountain up above him. The demon from Inzhao Mountain's aura surged as blood trickled from his mouth. He had been beaten by Zhu Zhao. But Zhu Zhao's desire to let Yi Futian keep the bone was nothing more than a dream. No one could keep it away from them. If Inzhao Mountain had not had a bone just like it that had sensed this one, they would not have known that there was another one here. They had researched this bone for many years. Celestial Fox Palace had been so careless as to think that it was useless. Since they did not know, they had not sought out the bone's mysteries. "You are Zhu Zhao?" At that moment, a voice came towards them from far away. Everyone turned to look. They saw several figures flashing towards them, all with a pair of wings on their backs. They had come from Inzhao Mountain as well. The one at their head had an imposing aura, much stronger than the demon from Inzhao, who had been fighting Zhu Zhao's. He had an air of kingly scorn about him as if he was the king of his clan. Behind him, two huge cultivators from Inzhao Mountain flanked him to the left and right. Although no powerful auras burst forth from them all, everyone could still feel that this man had the air of a demon emperor. Who is this? All of the demons below felt their hearts tremble without stopping. He had a demon emperor protecting him? Who was he to deserve such treatment? Inzhao Mountain was a top force in the demon realm. Even when its people were traveling, no other demons would dare to attack them. But he still had a demon emperor traveling with him. Why did he have such high-level protection? A demon emperor was someone who was at the top of the pyramid. For a junior to have an emperor traveling with him was absolutely astonishing. Soon, all the demons were thinking of a single person, the heroic demon cultivator who was famed throughout the world. That man from Inzhao Mountain had personally come from the Celestial Fox Palace. Had he come for the bone that Futian had bought? This made everyone very curious. What on earth was that bone? Many cultivators flashed over from the Celestial Fox Palace. They looked up into the sky as they arrived. They all felt that this was a bizarre situation. The Celestial Fox Palace seemed to have truly made a mistake this time. They were responsible for identifying the treasures of the Origin Mountains, and yet they had not realized how special that bone was. And thus they had put it up or sale. There were several procedures in the Celestial Fox Palace. After obtaining a treasure from the Origin Mountains, they would first look it over to confirm that it was indeed an Emperor-level artifact. Then they would let the Emperor-level figures in their own clan look over it. If they thought it was worth a lot, then they would pass it along. This bone had only passed through the hands of a demon emperor and had not made it to the final step. They had thought that it was just a bone of a demon emperor that did not have any particular use. Now, so many cultivators had come from Inzhao Mountain, possibly even all of them, and a demon emperor had come with them. Without a doubt, the Celestial Fox Palace had made a mistake. They all felt this. They would never have thought that there would be a moment that the Celestial Fox Palace had made a huge mistake. But there was a fierce look in Futian's eyes that everyone could not help but admire. The great demon of Zhu Yan looked at the one who had come. He had also guessed who it might be. However, he still spoke proudly. Yes. He had always wanted to see this legendary figure from Inzhao Mountain. And not only him. He wanted to see all of the legendary figures of the top forces of the demon realm. This was the reason he had left Celestial Demon City and come to Demon Metropolis. He was without equal in Celestial Demon City. Those who were of a higher level than him did not dare to fight him, and those who were of a more or less equivalent level to him were no match for him. He was proud by nature and skilled in combat. Demon Metropolis was much more suitable to him. You should step down. The man from Inzhao Mountain said to the one who was fighting Zhu Zhao as he stepped forward. His opponent nodded, then stepped to the side. Zhu Zhao looked up into the air. The one who had come was the most outstanding demon of the third generation of Inzhao Mountain. He was being trained as the future king of the mountain. The most powerful blood of the Inzhao clan flowed through his veins. And it was said that his power was simply astonishing. Thus, he had come with a demon emperor accompanying him. From this, it was obvious how much importance Inzhao Mountain placed on him. He reached out with the silver spear in his hand. In a flash, a terrifying whirlwind whipped up, and the frightening power of the great path descended onto the spear. He stood in the middle of the storm like a demon god. He's so strong. Below them, everyone's hearts were trembling. This was the third-generation king of Inzhao Mountain? It was said that the legendary demon emperor of Inzhao Mountain regarded him very highly and was personally training him. He was already an unblemished saint. He had just joined the battle, and already his power was clearly beyond that of most other unblemished saints. You are no match for me. He looked down at Zhu Zhao. As he said this, a storm of gray lighting whipped through the sky, and silver spears fell through the storm, forming a straight line in the sky. Zhu Zhao roared, and the golden flames swept out. However, his opponent broke out through the flames. When the spears reached their destination, they had formed a single spear that cut through the sky. Boom! The spear images pierced downward, but the figure shot straight through them. Spear after spear was broken. The other figure descended, and the storm fell with him, swallowing up everything. Boom! A terrifying noise rang out as a figure fell straight from the sky. Bang! All of the demons made way as Zhu Zhao fell to the ground, smashing a huge hole in the ground. The great demon from Inzhao Mountain was standing there in the air. There was no expression on his face. Given his level, defeating Zhu Zhao was not something worthy of praise. What is the matter? He asked. He was still not quite sure what had happened. A figure floated out of Celestial Fox Palace. She was a breathtakingly beautiful woman of the palace, much more outstanding than the other palace women standing around Yi Futian and the others. When she stepped into the air, her every motion set everyone's hearts trembling. She looked at the demon from Ingzhao Mountain up in the sky, then turned and looked at Yi Futian. She said, "Why don't you just leave the bone here, Lord Yi? A ritual implement of a demon emperor is not worth coming to grief over. It will probably not be useful to you at all. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Yi Futian looked up at the woman in the sky. She was, without a doubt, the most beautiful woman he had seen here at the Celestial Fox Palace. She was perfect in every aspect, and her every motion left people in wonder. Yi Futian looked up at the woman in the sky. She was, without a doubt, the most beautiful woman he had seen here at the Celestial Fox Palace. She was perfect in every aspect, and her every motion left people in wonder. But Yi Futian's gaze was still very calm. He gazed indifferently at the figure in the sky and said, "How do you know that it will be of no use to me?" Hu Qianmei, the lady saint of Celestial Fox Palace, looked at Yi Futian. The treasure that Ingzhao Mountain wanted had been overlooked by her Celestial Fox Palace and was now in Yi Futian's hands. But how would it be possible for him to put it to use? Yi Futian may have known that the bone was an incredibly exceptional treasure, but if he tried to hold onto it by force and deny it to Ingzhao Mountain, it would be of no use to him. "I'm sure you must realize this, Lord Yi. Moreover, I have no ulterior motive in saying this. Giving the bone up and handing it over to Ingzhao Mountain would be advantageous to you as well," continued Hu Qian. How powerful was Ingzhao Mountain? What human within the demon realm, or even which of the powerful demon families, would dare to take something away from Ingzhao Mountain? Even though Yi Futian had obtained it, how could he hope to hold on to it? Obtaining a ritual implement of a demon emperor would be the most useful possible outcome for Yi Futian. This was Ingzhao Mountain allowing him to save face since they did not dare to steal it from him directly. But if Yi Futian were not interested in their offer, then Ingzhao Mountain would have to stop being so polite. Everyone could see the prince of Celestial Demon City, Zhu Zhao, lying in a hole in the ground, spitting up blood. Ingzhao Mountain had not allowed Zhu Yan's family to maintain even the slightest bit of dignity. How could Yi Futian withstand them? She had asked Yi Futian to give up the bone. This would be best for both sides, and no one would be losing anything at all in this deal. "I should thank you for saying so, Your Grace." Yi Futian smiled. He could see how valuable the bone was by how much the cultivators from Ingzhao Mountain desired it. It seemed that it was even more precious than he had imagined. And so, he had even less desire to sell such a precious item. Of course, he was at a severe disadvantage here. Ingzhao Mountain was far more powerful than Zhu Yan's clan from Celestial Demon City. Given this, if Ingzhao Mountain wanted to seize the bone from him here in the demon realm, how could he resist? "No need. I am merely speaking honestly. Do not blame us, Lord Yi. This treasure came from our palace and you bought it at the auction, so we are at some fault here. But we hope we can avoid any friction," continued Hu Qian. Yi Futian smiled. He looked at the great demon of Ingzhao, who had previously been beaten back by Zhu Yan. He said, "Ingzhao Mountain is so strong, and they say that I am not worthy of having it. Why don't we try this? If you can beat me, then I will give the bone to you and will ask for nothing in return. If you lose, then you will leave voluntarily and not disturb me. What do you think?" The cultivators from Ingzhao Mountain stared at Yi Futian. The great demon, who had been beaten back by Zhu Zhao, regarded him coolly, his eyes as sharp as swords. He wanted to accept and seize the bone for Ingzhao Mountain without any additional complications. But this was such an important matter that it did not fall to him to take responsibility for it. Even if he lost to Yi Futian, Ingzhao Mountain would not give up their fight for it. The bone had something to do with a legendary demon. "You fail to appreciate how much kindness we are showing you." He stepped out towards Yi Futian. Silver light flashed in his eyes. It was dazzling to behold. Why did Yi Futian think he was in any position to speak of terms? And by what right did he do so? If he wanted the ritual implement of the demon emperor, then he could trade the bone and have it. If he didn't want it, that was no concern of Inzhao Mountain. The bone was Inzhao Mountain's. He had no choice but to give it up. Although he had lost a little bit of momentum from his battle with Zhu Zhao, he was still frighteningly powerful as he stepped out. Silver light flashed throughout the entire area, covering his body. A silver halo appeared in front of him as an incomparably sharp aura pressed against Yi Futian. Bang! Yi Futian stepped forward into the air, going higher and higher. The two of them rose at the same time. Mighty demonic energy swept through the heavens, and silver light filled the sky. Yi Futian waved his hand, and suddenly endless sword seals appeared all around him. Every sword seal looked like a sword that was swirling around his body. The shrieking sword chi produced an ear-piercing sound. The sword seals faced off against his opponent's spear. Go! The great demon from Inzhao Mountain stepped forward. The silver light that was swirling around him transformed into silver lightning bolts. They pierced through the sky with incredible speed. Yi Futian stepped forward as well, his sword while shrieking. His endless sword seals transformed into a river of swords. They slammed towards the silver lightning bolts. The two attacks clashed in midair, creating an astonishing burst of destructive power. The great demon from Inzhao Mountain's attacks seemed endless, and Yi Futian's sword seals were as sharp as could be as they pressed forward with an indomitable will. The great demon from Inzhao Mountain moved and turned into a point of silver light that pierced through the sky and shot towards Yi Futian. The sword seals had already turned into a river of swords in the sky that swept out through the whole area. They shot towards the silver spears and crashed into them. At the same time, a brilliant divine halberd appeared in Yi Futian's hands. He thrust it towards his opponent without the least bit of hesitation. His sword was smashed into his opponent's long silver spears. Although the spears were shooting towards him with great force, their strength was ebbing. At that moment, he saw Yi Futian's halberd coming towards him. The great demon of Inzhao Mountain did not try to evade Yi Futian's attack. He still had extreme confidence in his power, and so he let Yi Futian's halberd crash into his spears. In the instant that the spears crashed into the halberd, a terrible beam of light tried to pierce through the halberd and shoot towards Yi Futian. But the beam of light did not manage to cut into him. Instead, it dissipated into nothing. And not only that, the great demon from Inzhao Mountain felt his arm tremble and then shatter, and then it seemed like his whole body would do the same. Bang! A loud noise rang out, and the great demon from Inzhao Mountain was sent flying. He turned into a phantom that tried to flee. But Yi Futian stepped forward, his sword chi shrieking. Endless swords of Cassiopea split through the sky in an instant, covering everything in the area beneath them. At the same time, a great space-binding power spread out, and the whole area began to feel like thick mud. Yi Futian pierced right through the sky, crossing a vast distance in a single step. He thrust the halberd forward yet again. Bang! This time, it was the great demon from Inzhao Mountain who spat up blood. His very organs trembled. He stared up at Yi Futian, who was standing above him, holding the halberd. Was his spear not as powerful as his opponent's halberd? Could this human cultivator really be so strong? Many of the demon cultivators did not know Yi Futian. Of all of them, only the cultivators of Celestial Fox Palace knew a little bit about Yi Futian's glorious battles. This great demon from Inzhao Mountain had first lost to Zhu Zhao, so now him losing to Yi Futian seemed reasonable. Silver-colored lightning cracked across the sky. A tall and mighty demon appeared there, and he swept his cold gaze down on Yi Futian. A silver storm gathered together. It cut down through the sky, destroying everything in its path as it descended towards Yi Futian. Yi Futian looked up and felt an astonishing power. The unblemished saint from Inzhao Mountain had finally made his move. The unblemished level. He is already without flaw, thought Yi Futian. He had previously defeated Zhu Zhao with a single attack. This was not because Zhu Zhao was not strong, but because of the difference in their levels. The unblemished level was far beyond the true self level. The deed of thought comprehension flared to life and resonated with the great path. He pulled out his divine implement, the halberd of time and space, and poured his will into it. Brilliant light shone from the halberd. Give up, spat the great demon from Inzhao Mountain. A silver-colored airflow cut downwards from him. Yi Futian watched as the airflow gathered together into a terrifying storm. His heart was trembling. The deed of thought comprehension shone as he stepped forward. He struck out with the halberd of time and space, and terrible light shot out from it, crashing into the silver airflow and destroying it. The unblemished saint from Inzhao Mountain watched this scene indifferently, with no emotion on his face. A terrible power descended and gathered around him, forming a terrifying, destructive storm that put pressure upon the whole sky. If you must fight, then even if you voluntarily give it up in the future, we will not give you a chance, continued the unblemished demon in the sky. His presence was overpowering. Boom! Yi Futian stepped up into the air. Why do you refuse to see reason? The unblemished demon from Inzhao Mountain sighed as he watched Yi Futian. The storm grew stronger and stronger as it wrapped around his body. Silver meteors rained down from it, each one seeming to have terrifying piercing power. But starry steels appeared all around Yi Futian, wrapping around his body. Just as the silver meteors hit, the steels were cracked in the middle, making a terrible noise. The attacks were too powerful. An unblemished saint's might was unstoppable. But the light around Yi Futian was endless. It seemed that it had not been extinguished. Bang! Finally, the figure in the sky stepped forward. The destructive silver storm descended, causing an apocalyptic scene. The whole world seemed like it would be destroyed in this chaos. He looked down on everything, including Yi Futian. A beam of light shot out as his opponent disappeared from where he had been. Yi Futian was flying up into the sky, piercing upwards as quickly as he could. The spear and the halberd clashed together. Boom! A wild air flow swept out as the two figures parted. Yi Futian was sent flying backward and slammed into the ground with a terrible sound. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.